Now Dante right side's got an open side. He'll blow by Farmer to the basket. Hand to Gobert, who attacks the cup and lays it in. Dante Exum's first step is going to shock this league because that is quick.
This is Gordon Hayward. We are ready to tip it off. Are you? Let's do this.
And I'm the best in the end. Actually, I'm not at anything like Gordon is. We'll give you the NBA 5. We'll break down an incredible practice yesterday by Quinn Snyder, and we'll dig deep on Derrick Favors and why this could be a mammoth year for D. Faves. It's all coming up on today's edition of Tip Off. Pow! Hello, welcome. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA Insider. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks to all of you who have left comments and nice reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. That is greatly appreciated, means a really big deal. You can subscribe to this podcast and this show by subscribing to the David Locke YouTube channel and getting the video each and every day. You can subscribe at iTunes at Locked On Jazz, and you can subscribe on whatever app you might have on this little fun device that's changed our world, your phone. Here's what we got planned. I just said it. I'll tell you again. We'll do the NBA 5, looking at shortened games as well as jersey sponsorships. We will look at the Jazz practice yesterday, and then in addition to that, we will take some time and do a dig deep on Derrick Favors, answer your questions. Before I go any deeper, though, I've got the Daily DeVar, obviously Memo back in town. Memo and Ennis did a community appearance yesterday out at the Shoreline Center. Ennis so good with the kids and the fans. I've done appearances with Ennis. There's nobody better. He's just in his element, and it's so great to see Memo back in town with a role of the organization. It's a big deal for our organization to have some of our past players come back, and frankly, of that group, I think Karolinko will be open to coming back, but Darren lives here in the offseason, but that relationship having been traded, and Carlos, Memo's going to be our link to that era of Jazz basketball, so certainly important to have him back. One other quick note, I want to give a shout-out to Ryan Dangerfield. He and I, who's a listener and often huge contributor to the Locked On Sports Google Plus community, which I hope you check out with regularity. It's really, the goal is to build one spot where sports fans can communicate, and the Google Plus format really allows this, communicate about their favorite teams and then have moderators inside, such as Ryan, who find the articles about their team or write their thoughts about their team so that you have both kind of comments of a message board type stuff, but you also have all the best articles. So if you want to find out about the Utes, you just go to that, and here's all the best articles about the Utes. If you want to find out about the Cougars, you go to that. It's all about. If you want to find out about the Jazz, boom, NBA draft, we did it. And then in addition, your conversation, your commentary allows you to be a little bit of an expert while also reading all the best stuff. Ryan does a great job on that. Ryan also has been going back and forth with me recently about Quinn Snyder's system, and I have been very kind of reluctant to put a label on it because I kind of think Quinn Snyder's system is Quinn Snyder's. He's doing some things differently than anybody else in the NBA. He definitely approaches this in a different manner. I'll share a little bit about practice. Yesterday was very different to me, but one of the big ones was that he thought it had Adelman elements. Pelton said Adelman elements to it as well. And then promptly yesterday, in the middle of practice, here came a whole sequence of the Adelman triangle, corner series action that is Rick Adelman's signature offense. So I laughed while I was at practice yesterday that had taken place. So I wanted to just give a tip of the hat. But with that said, let's hit our NBA 5. Big talk about shortening games. They're going to play a game on Sunday, 44-minute game. They'll take a minute out of every quarter, and they'll take one timeout as well. I'm not sure what my real thought on this is of what it does to the game. The quest is to get to the soccer 2 hours. They've already really accelerated how fast we get in and out of timeouts. Which you probably don't notice, but as a broadcaster I do, and with all the features that we run unique to our broadcast that nobody else in the league does, that certainly is something we're well aware of. Travis Henderson, his Emmy Award-winning crew, is certainly aware of it too. It's very hard to get all your features in on TV. So shortening, I think the key to the game is flow, and from a fan standpoint, shortening the game is certainly a good thing, but flow is the key. So if you take that timeout, I agree with the concept that there's one too many automatic timeouts in the second and fourth quarter. For those who don't know, there's 2 timeouts in the first and third, and there's 3 timeouts in the second and fourth. I agree with the concept that back timeout is too much. I'm not sure what shortening by a minute does, but if they were to do it, the real impact is it shortens the rotation to 8 guys. It sounds really minimal, but you go take out 20. You're taking out 20 minutes of playing time from the game, right? For 5 guys, 4 minutes. 5 times 4 is 20. If Hayward's playing 38 minutes a night, there's only 6 minutes instead of And it doesn't sound like a lot, 4 minutes, but suddenly 6 compared to 10, that's a huge difference, right? I mean, we can do the math on that. It's nearly 50% of your bench minutes are going to be suddenly taken away. If your guys are playing 40 minutes a night, which most people don't do, but you would be reducing by your bench minutes by half, from 4 to 8. So if you take it to if you're playing 8 to, most guys are playing 38 minutes at the most right now. And so there's 10 minutes. Well, now it's down to 6. It really means the stars become even more important. And frankly, I would make a really strong argument this hurts the small market team that's going to try to build without the primary superstar and build a balanced team across the board. The depth, the balance depth issue, those few minutes matters much less than it ever did before. Whether you have an elite level starting 5 that can play together for the majority of the minutes of the game would really be the issue to me. I mean, I as a coach would possibly change the way I would do things. I might play my starting 5 the entire 11 minutes of the first quarter, try to muck the game up for four minutes in the beginning of the second quarter and just try to slow it down, and then bring my starting 5 back for another stretch, and suddenly let them play 7 minutes there. They've now played 18 minutes. They play 36 consecutive contiguous minutes, or as a contiguous group together, and I just try to dodge my way through those other 8 minutes. I think it's got a huge impact on the depth of rosters, as silly as it sounds, just that tiny bit. I might be overplaying the value of 4 minutes, but it's 1/12 the game, and frankly, you're not going to reduce your minutes of your starters any. I'm not sure I get what the 1 minute does. But what it does is it reduces the time you watch, it reduces the wear on the players without reducing the amount of games, which nobody wants to do because of the income on it. I am one who thinks a 72-game schedule might be the answer on all of this. Regionalize the game a little bit more, build some rivalries into the local matchups, play more games against your local region, and then play every other team twice along the way, and build it like that, and then probably change your playoff structure so that it's. I'll build this someday if you want to, but my thought would be if we go to 32 teams, adding Seattle and probably Kansas City or something of that sort, that you then go to 8 4-team regions. You play those regions the most in your rivalry set in some way. You play the rest of the league, the other games, you get close to 72 with some math issues there, and maybe the 8 playoff teams are the division winners, and the other 8 playoff teams are whoever has the best record in the NBA. And you then seed based on record and have nothing to do with conferences anymore. I'm not totally in love with that. I actually think there is something to the East versus West NBA Finals aspect of things. Sponsors on jerseys has been a big conversation as well, and the only quick thought I have for you is the people who don't want sponsors on the jerseys are ABC and TNT, because that's part of their new deal, is that they get part of the money. So if Coke would have bought a national buy on TNT or ESPN for ESPN basketball, they don't want Coke to put the jersey on the Miami Heat with LeBron or Cleveland with LeBron and then say, well, we don't need to buy your ad time because we're getting it through that. And so there's a part of this new TV deal where part of the ad number jerseys on national companies like a Coke or an IBM or a Apple or a Microsoft, any national, which frankly is almost anyone now, right, with the globalization of the world, the fact that every city you go into, you drop in the middle of the city, and you got the same box stores of Best Buy and Home Depot everywhere you go, and we've zapped American culture into box stores, but that's a different topic. That those companies, all that money actually goes to the TV networks, not entirely the NBA. I actually think that the new TV deal may limit the chance of sponsors on jerseys. I'm not sure that there's enough benefit to it for the issues. All right, let me run through some of the quick news of the NBA yesterday. Another big game for Jimmer. He had 15 points in 19 minutes. He did play the 2 with Austin Rivers the 1, and 11 of those 15 points came in the fourth quarter against the bench unit. Anthony Davis with mammoth in that game, 26 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks. First quarter, the Rockets shot 1 of 8 in the paint when Ashik and Davis were on the floor together. Amari Stoudemire, -2 in a 7-point win. He may just not have it. Nerlens Noel, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, and a block for Philadelphia, but they don't have another NBA player on the roster. Jabari finally got going. He had 18, but was -18 when he was on the floor, and the Bucks were +12 when he was off. And Antetokounmpo started at point guard yesterday, went 0 for 5 with 0 assists as a point guard. Oh, well. News out of the Lakers, Jeremy Lin going to start in front of Steve Nash as the point guard. And in our daily Byron Scott, what are you doing part of our episode, which if I was really a radio talk show host, I could probably take to great levels and do some funny feature with it. Would be totally inappropriate. But, quote, Byron Scott, I have no doubt in my mind that if I went to Steve and said tomorrow, you know what, I'm going to start Jeremy and the games are that you're available, you're going to come off the bench. He's such a professional. I don't think he'd have a problem with it whatsoever. Hey, Byron, I've got an idea for you. Instead of saying to the media, I have no doubt if I went to Steve tomorrow, how about you go to Steve yesterday, tell him what you're thinking, and then tell the media the next day? Just an idea, just a simple idea on how you might want to do that. Wesley Matthews says he's the best two-way guard in the NBA. Do I think I'm all defensive? He said, absolutely. I think I'm the best two-way guard in the NBA. Tyreek Evans will start at the 3 for New Orleans. And Dario Saric, the first-round draft pick of Philadelphia, is in Turkey. Very unhappy, may want to get out of his contract. Warriors plan to bring Andre Iguodala off the bench. That, my friends, is your NBA 5.
Hi, Jazz Nation. This is Enes Kanter. Thanks for being the best fans in the NBA.
All right, let's dig into the Jazz a little bit. We'll do a dig deep on Derrick Favors here in just a second. Yesterday was one of the most fascinating basketball practices I've ever been to in my entire life. They didn't do a lot. Quinn kind of shared that they really just did what he called a mental day. They didn't run a lot. They've done so much running recently, there was probably no need to do anything of that sort. Instead, what they did is they ran through their offensive play calls and really worked through them. But what's so interesting is, and I got to talk to Quinn about this, there's really a football element to what Quinn Snyder's doing. I can't do it. Somebody out there probably can do it much better than I am. But, you know, if you call a football play, you often call it the play as like the blocking scheme, then the receiver's route, then, you know, and there's a whole sequence, you know, whatever. I don't want to do it. But he's actually instituting a very similar type system to these guys. So they'll come into flow, swing, pinch, something, right? And that means that you get into early flow, swing the ball, get to the pinch post, and then move to the next aspect. I don't want to give away play calls, or frankly, do I all remember them perfectly? It's really fascinating. So he would, yesterday, talk about a mental day, he would sit there and call out a play, sometimes with 5, 6, 7 different aspects to it. So, and it could be whatever. I don't, I probably have, I've written some of them down. I wonder if I can pull them up, but you get the idea without me giving you the specifics. I think that really some interesting. Let's see what I wrote down. I have this incredible. I did not write down. By the way, this right here. I don't know if you can see it. This is an Evernote document, and these are all of the notes. Let's see. It's not. Where's the angle you need? There. All the notes that I've taken on interesting things Quinn Snyder has said during training camp so far. It's just it's incredible what he's doing. And so it could be flow, swing, bowl, snap, something, and those mean 5 different things, and the guys have to then execute all of those. And it was really interesting to watch these guys grasp his system, what he's doing, how he's working it step to step. There's a real football aspect to what Quinn's doing. The organizational element of it, the idea that you have positional elements during shoot-around, that they'll go to 4 different, instead of all being on one court, they go to 4 different baskets at one time, similar to the way you would in a pregame football prep. Your offensive linemen will be working on this, your wide receivers are working on this, your running backs are working on this, your defense is, right? And so very similar to that. He has a play sheet that he has with him on every game that is very football-esque. Instead of 3rd and 2, it will say GH plays for Gordon Hayward, TB plays for Trey Burke, AB plays for Alec Burks, Steve Novak at the 4, right? So that would be 3rd and long, 5 wide. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to these plays. Very interesting to see him work on those kind of things. And then this communication system to me really reminds me of a football play call and football play calls. In one of the coaches' interviews, I'm gonna grab this. I have an idea, by the way, with Quinn. I find Quinn brilliant, fascinating, and I think the most interesting aspect to the season for Jazz fans. Tell me if you're interested in this. I was thinking of doing maybe once a month. I mean, so it'd be 5 times a year. Maybe it would be every 2 weeks, depending on how many games we play. Take the most interesting. The coaches show I'm finding with. All right, let me just stop. Slow myself down. Coffee. take the most interesting aspects of my coaches' shows and interviews with him, and maybe even shoot-around interviews from the week or from the month, and just put together or every bi-monthly, the world according to Quinn, or something of that sort. I'd be curious what your thoughts are, if that would be something you'd like. If you saw me sending out the world according to Quinn, would you immediately go grab that podcast? Like, oh, I got to hear that. Is that of high interest level to you? I am finding the coach's show, which is 3 minutes and 30 seconds, to be incredibly difficult to do with Quinn, because there's such a level of depth to where he's going and what he's doing with things. So yesterday was really interesting. He made a fascinating comment afterwards. By the way, email me at dlock09@gmail.com or dlock@utahjazz.com and let me know. If you hashtag Locke tip off, I'll also get it. So let me know. Interesting comment afterwards. We don't play offense with enough force. What happened, he's talking about theirs third quarter the other night. The Clippers got in on the defense and pushed them off the spot. Whoa, I'm going to have to mute Mr. Brent Larson. Pushed them off their spots, and they didn't hold their ground in that regard. Yesterday, somebody brought up the idea of Rodney Hood starting instead of Alec Burks, and I really quickly dismissed it, and I do dismiss it because I don't think it's eventually maybe, in the sense that the floor spacing would be better. Alec's got to be able to shoot some threes at that shooting guard position. I brought that up before, that Alec has got to shoot threes from that shooting guard position for the Jazz to be successful, and for him to be successful. And he has not shot a three yet in the preseason in any of the 2 games that he played. So in some sense, but I'm not, and that would let Gordon go back to the 2. You're incredibly long at that point. Gosh, if you ever got to Exum, Hayward, and Hood as your 6'6", 6'9", 6'8", woo! But I think there's some defensive issues with it. It's not something that would be coming anytime soon. But I didn't want to just totally dismiss it. I mean, I thought the other night there were some aspects to the spacing of the floor that looked good. Pretty cool move by Gordon Hayward yesterday. If you didn't catch it on his blog, he sent out I'm the best in the world, I can take anyone one-on-one, and it seemed really out of character and strange, and it ended up crashing his site. Definitely they read that there would be a reaction to it, and it crashed his site, but his point was he could beat them all in the video gaming world, and got into a little bit of who he is as a video game. Gordon's an interesting guy. I've been fortunate enough to get to know him well. I feel like we have a good relationship. I don't want to make it sound like we're best friends, but I do feel like we actually are friends. I think he knows that. I think if there was something wrong in his life, I think he knows I would probably help him out and be there for him as a friend, as much as I'm a media guy that covers him. But I think that I've gotten to know him a little bit. There's definitely an edge. He's a world-class athlete for a reason. World-class athletes have an A element to them at all times. He's got that. But he also is, he's a pretty real dude. I mean, he's an Indiana guy who was a geeky student, who was a 4.0 geeky student with a twin sister, competed hard. The parents pushed him to be excellent at what they did. His career exploded. He got to the NBA. He's probably trying to find himself no different than every other 24-year-old in life. He's just gotten married, bought a house. And he's sharing a little bit of who he is. It's a very real person. I think we want him. Sometimes we don't want our athletes to be real, right? We want him to be superhuman. He's not that, but it's neat to see him play around in this regard with things. All right, for those of you that are on the audio broadcast, I'm going to do the best I can here. But what we're going to do, unfortunately, the NBA site is not working as perfectly as it has in the past with this. But what we're going to do right now is we are going to go to Derrick Favors' shot attempts from the other night. And there's 2 things that jumped out at me as I looked at this the other day. And they are, 1, how much space he's getting on the floor, and 2, how much that space is actually impacting his ability to rebound. So let's run through these. Unfortunately, the site's not working great, so there'll be a lot of clicking, a little buffering. But here's the opening play. He's at the top. They're running through their flow offense, dribble handoff to Trey, comes back, sets a pick for Trey, and look at that, catches the ball at 17 feet on the right side, off the pick and roll, has a step on DeAndre Jordan, and with one dribble, Derrick is able to get to the basket. the nice thing, actually, the way the site's working, we can watch it a second time. But this is really a great example of Quinn's offense. Here they are running the early sets, pressure release. They overplayed Rodney Hood on the outside, so Trey comes and gets it. Now here's, and also if you're watching this and listening, how often Favors is moving, setting picks. Here's the pick by Favors. He then rolls back, and look at him catch it one step outside the three-point line, or excuse me, one step outside the free throw line, immediately go. This is the essence of what Quinn wants these guys to do. You're either catching, you're actually going and catching, which he does pretty well here. He's already on the move before he catches the ball. You're shooting immediately, or you're passing immediately. And Favors has become really terrific. See one play in the sequence where he actually reverts back, and it doesn't work out well. This is where, look at the spacing on this also. Favors has it at the free throw line. Rodney Hood's outside the three-point line right. Trey's actually back behind the timeline, which is where they want him on the left, and Gordon's in the right corner, sliding up slightly so that if Derrick needs to make the pass, it's there. And this is the key where I was talking to Derrick the other day. He basically just said to me, man, if Enes Kanter can shoot threes, I'm going to score 20 points a game. And he's right. And if you also listen to Quinn talk about why they want him to shoot the corner three, this is the essence. Right here, Spencer Hawes, who's not a very good defensive player, on the right baseline is Kanter. If he's outside the three-point line, this is even better. But he does not want to leave Kanter. So, actually, that's Blake Griffin. That's not Spencer Hawes. He doesn't want to leave Kanter. So Favors is able to put it on the floor. He immediately has a step on Jordan. If you're watching on video now, you can see he has his shoulder by him. And Griffin lets him go because he's worried about Kanter out on the wing. And it's a nice finger roll layup for Derrick Favors. It's a beautiful play. It's a great example of playing in space and what Derrick's going to be able to do, and something that simply we just have not seen a lot out of Derrick. And from the first time I ever saw Derrick, my thought on Derrick is that he's Amari Stoudemire, and this is an opportunity for him to be Amari Stoudemire. All right, here they are into the early action again. This is a high horn set. You've got Favors and Gobert, it looks like, off Hayward at the top, with Hood in the right corner, Trey in the left corner. Hayward rolls to the right side. Trey comes up nicely. Here's a very subtle thing to this offense. Roll and replace. So Gobert went high, even though he's not going to have an impact there. Favors goes low. Look at the post position Favors is able to get immediately, because as Hayward went right to the right and throws back to the left, Favors cuts across the lane from the right to the left block. He now has Jordan on his hip. He's right there for the action. This is also why you play both sides of the floor, and he's got great screen position. Trey instead is able to go one-on-one, beats his man. Favors slides right down to the dunker, catches, easy layup. Look at how he plays in space on this play, and how the movements on the floor open up to his athleticism. Instead of being a static post player who's not moving, who's in the Karl Malone essence of things, look at how much Derrick's able to move on plays, use his quickness, use his speed. Here it is again. Same play. Hits the horns. Hayward cross court, pins on Jordan. Trey penetrates, quickly bounces in, and everyone caught it and went right away. Just brilliant basketball right there. This is Derrick's missed three. We probably don't need to watch it. Derrick missed three. Let's see if we can watch this instead. For those of you also on the audio, I'm doing the best I can. I appreciate you. All right, here's, again, quick into the flow action. By the way, see how Rodney Hood's out this far? That's actually an important concept, that he's supposed to be high to be able to create some things. Double stagger pick coming for Gordon Hayward. Trey set the first one. Favors sets the second. Gordon comes up to get it. Favors turns around, flips another pick. Then they go to the horn set up high. Good action. Hayward comes back to get it. Penetrates. Now look at just basic here. Now this play is not working perfectly. Rudy got pushed out too far. This is the lack of fortune time. But even look at Derrick here. Derrick is on the left side of the floor. Jordan is down there. There's nobody else around him. Hayward penetrates, gets caught in the air, misses, and what does Favors do? Slides behind Jordan for the offensive rebound, because there was space and action on that side of the floor. That's what I'm talking about. Even that space is going to lead to Derrick getting some more offensive rebounds, which will get him a few other things. Watching another Derrick Favors play. Okay, similar action. Oh, actually, this is the same one. Sorry. Okay. Or it was the exact same play. There's going to be a missed jumper by Derrick on this one. But here it is again. Early high pick. He flips it. And let's pause it. He catches the ball at the free throw line, wide open, and he just pulls into the jumper. He misses it. It's not a great shot, but the airspace, the quick action, doing everything that Quinn wants out of him in this. And if you watch it again, the spacing on it, this is with Gobert. The spacing's pretty interesting. Okay, they flip the pick, changing the angle on the pick. Everyone's down, so it's a high two-man game. Trey comes across the pick. If we freeze it, it's a nice pocket pass. Favors gets it, and you can see Chris Douglas-Roberts actually shoots at Favors for a second, which may have bothered it. Favors bobbles the ball a little bit. And Gobert is here. At some point, Favors and Gobert may get enough of a relationship to be able to do something off of this together. But frankly, that was probably the right play for Derrick to take that shot. He doesn't get it. All right, let's go to the next one. Here's Derrick, handoff to Hayward. Hayward drives in lane, kicks out to Cantor for a baseline jumper, no good. Derrick just beast man gets the rebound. And actually, this is kind of a play that now if I remember correctly, it kind of just blows up. They go into this is actually an area where they're going to have to improve. I think Quinn really wants offensive rebound into a three, which might be my most favorite play in the game. Offensive rebound into a three. So here's Cantor outside. Favors setting another screen, just so active on everything. Comes back to set another screen. Rodney Hood holds it 1 second too long on that. Probably should have hit Favors before he had to post up. Now Favors caught kind of posting up mid-block. Shot clock's going down, and we're now into last year's Derrick Favors. A fading away jumper that's no good. That one. It's not very interesting. Let's go to this one. Is it buffering here? But you can see what the concept of what you're seeing here, if this actually comes up, and maybe we're going to find that this, as I said, this program's been a little quirky recently, has not run as well as I would have liked it to. What you're seeing here is that on these plays is the ability of how much area and space he's being able to play in right now. All right, 15 does not seem to want to come up. Let's see if we go get this one. All right, so now we're into the second quarter, and Derrick goes down to the right block for this looks like an early post-up. Instead, it's a bunch of action up top between Trey and Ennis, and the play kind of gets blown up. But even after the play's blown up, Trey gets rid of the ball, Ennis gets it into the right spot, and now because Trey, this is old Stockton technique, even though it didn't work, Trey brought everybody up to him. Now it's a 4-on-3, and look how well these guys are spaced. Cantor has it at the free throw line. Gordon's outside 3 on the right side. Hood's outside 3 on the left side. And Favors is waiting in what they call the dunker down below, perfectly spaced. Derrick is just playing such smart basketball. And because they trapped Trey up and he was able to get rid of it, Cantor makes a brilliant play here and drops into the Favors for the dunk. But again, the space and area to play for these guys is so different than it's ever been before. I mean, this looks like a busted play as we watch it again. Trey comes in with Cantor. They kind of go back and forth. And now Trey runs a pick and roll of Cantor, and Blake blitzes it, and Trey's in a little bit of trouble. This play's not working. Ennis is trying his best. Ennis does a good job to stay available, and Chris Douglas-Roberts has just no idea where to go defensively on how to deal with it. It's just, again, this is so terrific to watch and to see, and these are the things I think are what Derrick could have an enormous year. Here they go again into the opening set. There it is again, up above the timeline. That's an important concept. It opens up passing lanes, does some things here. Trey gets a nice little pin down from Derrick to catch it, then comes back off a Derrick pick. He rolls. Derrick was relatively open. They keep moving the ball. Here's the open post, by the way. That's breaking it at the 45 on the open post. We'll show that again. And so what happens? A pass into Derrick for a nice easy dunk. Watch this one again because I stopped it too many times. But the key here that's very different to what the Jazz do than what anyone else is doing in this league, and this is a uniqueness to Quinn, is that Derrick does not come and flood the right side post when the ball goes back. So here's the working the outside. Shot clock's going down. They got into it early. It goes out to Rodney Hood right here. Look where Derrick is. Derrick is on the far left side. Hood catches outside right. Jeremy's going to come set a pick for him, which isn't a great pick because Jeremy's so skinny. But again, we're spaced correctly. Trey is outside left 3-point line. Ian's outside in the left corner. He probably needs to slide down a tiny bit. And the key here is, as the pick comes and Chris Douglas-Roberts hedges it, I think he might do it incorrectly, Hood breaks to the basket, the post is open. Here he goes. Post is open. Rodney, beautiful bounce pass inside. And Rodney's a very good passer. That was a really nifty play. And Derrick gets an easy layup from just being in the right spot at the right time with the floor spacing and the empty post. I am telling you, Derrick's got a chance, and his 2-year work of Mark McCown and physical conditioning is really going to put him. Here it is, early pick and roll. Derrick rolls the middle, catches, boom. I mean, that's Derrick Favors. That's Amari Stoudemire, Steve Nash right there. That's just a basic, easy pick and roll to open the play. If we watch it again, pause it on the pick. It's a high pick where Booker's flat, far side. I can't tell who that is. Hood's on the near side. That might be Gordon far side. Trey comes off the pick. He stretches DeAndre Jordan out with him. Favors is open at the free throw line. Trevor Booker's in the dunker. Blake Griffin doesn't know where to quite go because Trevor's there. Probably should have come out to deal with that earlier. Favors catches, and again, quick action by Derrick right to the rim. So good. So good. Tickets are available at UtahJazz.com. So good. Okay, let's watch another. It's a deep dig. I think we have a few more. We'll end it here at some point. He took 14 shots. Another high pick, Trey and Ennis, bounces to Trey left side. Ennis, he bobbles, and now we're into one-on-one left side with space, but very much like last year. And this completely looks like last year's Derrick Favors, and what does he do but miss? Like, is that crazy? That is absolutely everything we saw last year. That's the last year Derrick Favors playing in the post, back to the basket, powering through things, and they're not working. And that brings us to the end of our crazy dig deep on Derrick Favors. I hope you enjoyed that and that made some sense if you're on the audio version. And I also hope that this is still working because my computer, I think, has just frozen completely for those that are on video. Hopefully I will not have to end the entire show because of what I did at one time. And I'm back. It looks like all of the pictures down at the bottom of Niall and Chris and Angie are asleep. So maybe that didn't work so well. All right, let me see if I have a quick moment or two for questions and answers. I don't have a lot of time today. I got to catch a plane, get packed, do all that kind of stuff. Rory Jones, have you seen Bill and Jalen's Utah Jazz preview? Came out last night. Nope, I have not. I'll try to watch it at some point. I don't think they know anything about what we're doing. I think they know nothing. Actually, would you like my most arrogant comment of the day? Comments I'm going to regret. They know anything, it's because they listen to this. Delmero Toledo, what does it mean that Quinn says Jack's lack offensive force? What does he want to see? I think an example is they just get pushed, is where I showed in that last video sequence, they got pushed out of their sets too easily. They're not holding their ground, and if they're getting taken off their routes. I did not offend Mr. Phelps enough that he did not come back yesterday. I really apologize. Afterwards, I felt terrible about that. I hope I don't know what's offensive, and not anymore. There was no intent. So I hope I bothered you. I did not mean to. I really, truly thought it was funny. I thought you were playing like a, I don't know. My bad. Sometimes I've been wondering for a while, how involved is Jerry Sloan with the Jazz specifically doing he and Quinn talk regularly? He's at most practices. Quinn talks to him about every practice. I know that they have had, they communicate a lot. Quinn has been surrounding himself with Larry Brown, Doug Collins, Greg Popovich, Turo Messina, and Mike Krzyzewski. Maybe the 6 best minds of the game. He's going to certainly use Jerry Sloan around here. Quinn's brilliant. Quinn is got his own visions on how this is going to work. He's got enough guts to try new things. His brain is awesome. He is also willing to listen. I think a sign of very brilliant people is self-awareness. The thing I think that Jerry could give Quinn the best knowledge of, and this is where I think Brad Jones is really important to the staff, is an 82-game schedule and how he deals with it. Out of curiosity, did you know about Hayward's piece in advance? I enjoyed it, but I heard that there was some negative feedback. Did you get that sense? I think there's negative feedback on anything you do. That's why I don't have a mentions column this time of year. I think that's just a reality. So I I did not know about it in advance. I actually, in fairness of my comment earlier about Gordon and I being friends, I have talked to him as little this year as I have in any season up to this point. He's married, he's got things going on. So I think no, I didn't know about it. Did Corbin yell at players like Quinn does? I got to be a little careful on that because that's in confidence of where I'm seeing stuff in practice that I probably can't share with you, that you get that knowledge. When I say that, guys, realize you're getting this knowledge in other places. I have to just be careful about specifics. I would say they yelled at different things. Okay? They yelled at different things. They had different items that they pushed. They had different buttons that were important to them. And each has their own value of success. I mean, I think one of the things that Ty would push is why his teams played well in March and April for the most part. I mean, I think last year we fell apart a little bit when the writing was on the wall. But if you look back historically, his teams generally played pretty well in March and April. I think that was because of the things he pushed. Quinn's trying to build a new culture, new basketball, playing a different way. He's at different things. Casey Greer, I've noticed our guards are icing on the pick and roll this year. Did they do that last year? I don't remember. We don't ice, we channel. Different terminology. Yes, we did some. As the year went on, we evolved and changed what we were doing. More than anything else, we dropped the big last year, halfway through the season. Knowing what we know after 3 games, does your projection for wins and losses of the year change? Nope. Let me. Thank you. I wanted to get to this today, and I didn't get to it. And thank you, Taylor. And I'll probably do this again tomorrow. So for those of you that are diehards enough to stay 30 minutes into a podcast, you're gonna get this again tomorrow. My comment about our wins and loss total this year has always been the same thing, and I hope people hear it clearly. I can isolate us. I can see where we're going to be much better. I can see where each of the guys takes the strides. I can see where the 1,000 minutes of Alec and 1,000 more minutes for Derrick Ennis last year and the 500, whatever it was for Gordon, really helps them understand a season. I can see where Quinn's system's going to help Derrick and use Derrick like Amari Stoudemire, like he should be used, rather than like Karl Malone. I can see those things. However, I have a hard time getting us any higher than 13th in the West. I mean, maybe we'll really surprise, but I think we can be better than Lakers. I think we can be better than Minnesota. Sacramento's pretty loaded. I mean, they again, just going on the basic concept of if we got the 12 guys that play the most and you draft them, I'm taking DeMarcus, Rudy Gay first, aren't I? I'm not sure I want them on my franchise, but on a given night, so we split with them, maybe. But I have a hard time getting us higher than that. If you're at 13, 14, 15 in the Western Conference, if you look through the years, if I go to Basketball Reference quickly, which is what I've done in the past, and I go look at the standings for every year and just take a look at that number doesn't get us much higher. So I think we could be a lot better without an increased win total, right? So last year, let's go with 13 in the West. 13 in the West last year was 28 wins. Sacramento. Do you have us at higher than 13th in the West? Maybe we're going to catch Denver. 13th in the West. The year prior to that, I think, was Sacramento again, 28 wins. Go to 2011-12. 13th in the West was Golden State at 23 wins. That's the lockout season, isn't it? 2010-11, 13th in the West is 32 wins for the Clippers. Okay, well that would be a really big jump for us. But it's also that has a Minnesota team with 17 that year, and I think another team with 19, and somebody else with 19. There was just 13th in the West the year prior to that's 26. So when I look at us, I can see where we get a lot better isolating us. When I look at us in the context of where the NBA is, I have a hard time getting us to walk up the standings. And when I can't walk us up the standing, I get to Oklahoma City Thunder the year next is 23. And the average win total that I've done this, the average win total of that position in the Western Conference over the last years is 25, 26 wins. So that's, come on, I'm analytical. You guys, I'm just not a guy you have seen how and listened to me and know how crazy and emotional I get. If I'm not analytical, I'm just an idiot. Final question from Michael. When the Jazz drafted Exum, we were led to believe he would play the 2 spot. That's not true. Yet I don't believe we have seen him play the 2 yet in preseason. That's not true. Has the idea been abandoned for him just to be the backup point guard? Do you think Exum has a great shooting guard? No, he's a point guard, I think. I think numerous teams in the NBA are going to dual guard sets. Bledsoe, Dragic in Phoenix is the most talked about, but if you look around the league, I mean, it's just happening all over the place. Somebody else is doing it recently. I was just reading. Manu, frankly, half the time is a point guard in San Antonio in that system. Reggie Jackson, Russell Westbrook, those are both point guards. Right, you got me, right? Okay. I don't think he's a 2. He's a 1, not a 2. He's never played 2. He's not a great shooter, though he hit half his threes the other night, so I don't think he'd be a 2. I think the concern on him is that he turns out to not have a good enough handle and be too tall to play point guard, and he ends up being a 2, and then he's not a great shooter, and then you've got a non-shooting 2, which is not a great concept in this league. So no, I don't, Michael. I appreciate your question. I'm being flippant sometimes when I'm answering these questions late in the show and being a jerk, and I don't mean to be. So no, I don't think the premise of your question is actually accurate. He did play on the opening night. We played Trey and Dante together. We did it as well in Game 2. We didn't do it because Alec didn't play in Game 3, and so that just rotated some of the system. I still think you got to be a little careful about minutes. I still think that we end up in the 3 wing positions. I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday in the front office and presenting kind of what I thought. And they does Ian Clark gain time? Does Dante Jones gain? The way I see it is, if you play this thing out for a second, and I actually need to write stuff down to do this, and I don't know am I going to write on my face again to be able to do this? Yeah, let me see if I can actually, because I think it'll help me actually do it correctly. And if I have my head down writing, it doesn't do any good. All right, so if you have Gordon Hayward's going to play 38 minutes a night at the small forward, and you say you have 33 minutes a night for Trey and Alec, maybe 34, right? And on some nights, you're going to have to do something different. Okay, so then, so those are your starters. I'm going to put Dante in purple. Dante comes in and plays the other 15 minutes as the backup point guard every night, and plays an additional 5 minutes a night as the backup 2 with Trey. So now Dante's at 20. So this position, backup point guard position's done. Now I'm at 38 minutes for my shooting guard. So I need 10 minutes of a shooting guard. Well, then I'm going to put Rodney Hood, who's green, plays 10 minutes at the shooting guard, and Rodney Hood plays 10 minutes backing up Gordon Hayward at the small forward, and now I've got all these positions complete with enough time, and I've got Rodney Hood playing 20 minutes a night, 10 at the 2, 10 at the 3. I have Dante Exum playing 20 minutes a night, 15 at the 1, 5 at the 2, and my night is complete minutes-wise. That's how I envision and no phallic symbols anywhere in this drawing, by the way. How fabulous is that? Little Jackson Pollock-esque. So that's how I envision the minutes being played. I'm going to share a story with you to wrap up this in honor of this drawing. And then for those of you that have stuck with this boring podcast for that long, then you get it. So my daughter is playing golf, and she's playing in some tournaments. She's turning out to be actually pretty good. And the other day, she's teeing it off. It's a tough little hole. We're out at the ranches at Eagle Mountain. And it's a hole where the way they have them teed up, that she could drive it. She'd have to carry 140 off the drive, which is a little iffy on her. She's close on that at 9. That's asking a lot, though, to put it out there. So we're going to lay up, and she's going to lay up with her 8-iron and then be about 60 yards out and go over the hazard. And she doesn't hit it well, but it rolls to the perfect spot. So I, as her caddy, being a jerk, say, hey, it's not a Picasso, but we'll take it. And at 9 years old, she turns to me and says, yes, it's much more of a Jackson Pollock, Daddy. What am I raising? All right, that is the show for today. Hope you're well.